Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Brothers and sisters, I welcome you all to tonight's talk by Sheikh Assim and Hakeem under the topic of spiritual incompatibility. We begin by saying, Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah, that all praises is due to Allah and the salutations be on our beloved Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Let me introduce myself. I'm Amir Siddiqui. I'm going to be the host for the talk tonight, and I will quickly take you through on the events, the chain of events, how we will be proceeding with tonight's talk. Inshallah, we will start with the talk given by Sheikh in next 15 minutes. After that, we have a question. If time permits us, before Maghrib, we will have a short question and answer session. Otherwise, we will break at 6:15 and till 6:45, wherein we will be moving upstairs for Salah. We have arranged for snacks over here, but Salah Maghrib, and I request everyone to be in hall by 6:45 sharp, because we need to wrap up the program by 7:30. To begin, I thank all of you for your presence over here, that we took so much of effort to leave family, work, and be present in this blessed occasion. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever follows a path in seeking knowledge, Allah will make his path to Jannah easy. May Allah make us amongst those. May Allah accept this occasion. May Allah accept all the hard work put in by the volunteers and the participants. To begin with, I would like to give a brief introduction to Sheikh Assim and Hakeem. We know that he's a very well-known personality. He is a graduate from Qura University in Makkah, 1998, and he has been an imam in Jeddah since past 20 years. Sheikh is very much active on radio and TV, wherein he's done a lot of dawah work. He has a program on fiqh, on fatawa, and Sheikh has studied intensively the books of Sheikh Saleh ibn Uthaymeen. Before we start, I would request all the brothers and sisters to please put your phone on silent mode or switch it off, because we don't want any disturbances during the program. We also urge the brothers that I believe they have already taken care of the parking, because we have had issues over here previously with the parking, because there are other houses on the other side. We have brothers outside. I hope everybody is coordinated and there should be no problem with it. I would like to call upon the stage now Sheikh Assim and Hakeem to begin with the program.
وسلم وبارك على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهديه واستنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Allah's favors and blessings upon us are countless. وإن تعدوا نعمة الله لا تحصوها. You can never ever count the favors and blessings of Allah upon us. And among one of the greatest favors and blessings of Allah upon humankind is that He granted them a partner in life who would share with them their joy and worries. Allah Azza wa Jal says in the Quran, and of his signs is that he created for you from yourselves mates, that you may find tranquility in them. And he placed between you affection and mercy. Indeed, in that are signs for the people who give thought. So, this can constitute the basis of what a good marriage is. Tranquility, that you have affection and mercy. So, a marriage that fails to achieve these points may not be compatible. Marriage by itself has many merits and benefits, and any person who is objective would see that without any hard work. Who fails to see such a thing? Someone who is in a bad marriage. So when you are in a bad marriage, no matter what you say about marriage and the benefits and the merits, he would always be pessimistic and he would always criticize, because a sick person can never find the sweetness of honey when given to him. And likewise, a person in a bad marriage can never find the merits and benefits of the marriage he's in, because he's not reaping any. The Prophet said, alayhi salatu wassalam, when a person gets married, he has completed half of his religion. So let him fear Allah with regard to the other half. So this is awkward. The Prophet ﷺ is dividing religion into two halves. One half is getting married. How would that be? Scholars say the problems of this dunya usually come from trials, calamities, and tests. And usually it is either through sexual desires or things to do with consumption of food, of whatever you gain from this world. So half of it is dependent on sexual desires. If you get married, then half of your deen is secure. Therefore you have to fear Allah in the other half, which means that marriage has a great role and responsibility in Islam. Not only that, the Prophet ﷺ ordered the youngsters, the youth, those who have the ability, those who have the urge for such a natural desire, the Prophet ﷺ ordered them to get married. And he directed them by saying, O young men, whoever among you can afford it, that is marriage, let him get married. Affording it physically, one is not impotent. And affording it financially, one is capable of opening a house. So the Prophet ﷺ said, let him get married, for it is more effective in lowering the gaze and guarding one's chastity. So this is something that is recommended in our religion. And we all know that it is part of the sunnah to get married. When three of the companions, may Allah be pleased with them, came to the Prophet ﷺ houses, and they asked his wives about how the Prophet ﷺ worships Allah. And when they were told, they belittled it. They thought that this is nothing. The Prophet does what all of us do because Allah has forgiven his sins. One of them said, I will never marry women. When the Prophet heard this, ﷺ, he got angry and he addressed the people by saying, I sleep and I pray, I fast and I eat, and I marry women. Whoever chooses or whoever neglects my sunnah is not from among me. So he disowned those who abandon marriage thinking that they're getting closer to Allah Azza wa Jal. And marriage is a great blessing when your partner is compatible to you, especially in terms of religion. The Prophet said, alayhi salatu wassalam, this world is transient comforts, and the best of the comforts of this world is a righteous woman. And this was narrated by Imam Muslim in the Sahih. So the luckiest man is a man who has a righteous woman. And when we say righteous, we don't refer to a woman who wears niqab or gloves only. This is the outer shell. When we say righteous, this means inside out. Likewise, the happiest woman is a woman who is blessed with a righteous man. And a righteous man is not a person who has a long beard and a short throat. Because so many people have such characteristics, but there are among them who are liars, cheaters, abusive, miss Salat al-Fajr on regular basis, are addicted to pornography, and might be full-fledged hypocrites. So when we say righteous, we mean inside out. Those who abide by the Quran and the Sunnah. Those who excel in their moral conduct, in their akhlaq, in the way they treat people. So when you see them, you identify the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, whether men or women. Now when we come to the issue of compatibility, is it? I'm losing it because jet lagging. Compatibility. This is not the right noun, is it? What is the right noun for it? Compatibility. What is compatibility? Do you know that the books of fiqh we rely upon make compatibility, some of them, a condition in the effectiveness of your marriage? What do you mean by condition? Meaning if there's no compatibility, the marriage is void. Yeah, Sheikh. To that extent, yes. Few scholars, great number of scholars. For example, in the Hanbali fiqh, there are two narrations related to Imam Ahmad. One, he makes it a must that the spouses are compatible, and they differ in what compatibility should be applied in. So some make it a must to be compatible in lineage. What do you mean by lineage? Each tribe has its honor, its pride. So it is well known nowadays that a Sayyid family may not marry from an unsayyid family. What does that mean? The lineage of the Prophet ﷺ, the descendants of the Prophet ﷺ, may never marry from outside, meaning women from such an honorable descent may not marry regular men. And this is applied till today in many countries, especially in Saudi Arabia. I don't know about other countries, but I think it still applies. In Saudi Arabia, we have so many women who have passed the age of marriage, 50, 60 years of age, because their parents, the guardians, restrict them from marrying someone from out of the tribe or from this honorable family, unjustly and unfairly. But this is found in the books of jurors. And being found in the books of jurors, does it mean it is valid or not? It's an issue of dispute. We will come to discuss this later on, inshallah. So, some say compatibility must be in terms of what? Okay, lineage. Others say no, it has to do with wealth. So a woman from a high family, from a rich family, must not be given to a man from a lower status financially, because he would not be able to provide for her the same lifestyle, the same the living status. Other scholars say compatibility deals with profession. In Saudi Arabia, those who are craftsmen, those who are working with their hands, they used to look down at them. So if you're a blacksmith working with metals, if you're a carpenter, if you're a mechanic, if you do cupping, you know hijama, cupping, this is looked down upon, and scholars say that if a marriage takes place, the guardians of the woman have all the right to make separation, even if it is the furthest fourth or fifth cousin. Yani to the extent that in some books they say if a man who is from a lower class marries a woman from a higher class and they have children 40 years down the road after they get married, a cousin of a cousin who has a grandchild who is maybe 20 years of age compared to these people who are 60 can come and say, I demand that the marriage is void. And he goes and complains to the judge, and the judge separates between them. Imagine to that extent. So this is an opinion honored by a great number of jurors who inherited it from their predecessors, one by one, and they study the books of fiqh and they transmit it to those below them without any interest in knowing Allah's ruling. And this is a big problem in how people embrace their religion. Some of us embrace their religion through the Quran and the Sunnah, the divine revelation that cannot be changed, that will remain until the end of time. Others embrace their belief through their heritage or through what they had inherited from other scholars. And you will find them abiding by it even if it goes against the Quran and the Sunnah. He says, I cannot, this is my madhab. This is my father's conviction. This is my forefathers' belief. I will abide by it. Akhi, it goes against the Quran. Well, they had their reasons. Okay, they had their reasons. Allah will forgive them. What's yours? It's a big problem, which means that you are not on the straight path. You're on the crooked path. Because if you were on the straight path, you would be on the path of the Prophet. Allahumma salli wa sallim alayhi. But you're not following the Prophet. You're following your scholars, your elders, and what the people are accustomed to. There are, in the Hanbali madhab, opinions, narrations. Imam Ahmad, in one narration, said that it is a condition. And he said that I will never allow an Arab woman to marry a non-Arab man. And if they're married, I will separate between them. And Sufyan al-Thawri also said something like this. Ahmad ibn Hanbal, may Allah have mercy on him, also was reported to say, if a man who is a tailor was married to an honorable woman, I will separate between them. Because such craftsmen who work with their hands are not fit to marry honorable women. And there are other narrations of such nature. Now the second opinion of Imam Ahmad, and you will find this in the books of fiqh, Imam Shafi'i having an opinion in the old and in the new, meaning that he changed his mind. Imam Ahmad, you will find in most issues having 2 or 3 opinions, depending on the way he looked at cases depending on the amount of knowledge he developed afterwards. And it is part of his greatness that he changes his opinion in accordance to the Quran and the Sunnah, not to abide by an opinion which is wrong and still defiant even after he recognized and realized this. The second opinion, and this is the opinion shared by the majority of scholars, especially those who follow the Quran and the Sunnah, that it is not a condition, meaning the marriage is valid. Compatibility in social status, in wealth, in lineage, this is good, but it is not a condition. If not met, would make the marriage invalid. No. And this is the opinion of the majority, but still they differed on what compatibility are we referring to and what makes it important to adhere to. Now, without going into details of schools of thought, the most authentic opinion is that the compatibility that Islam focuses on is compatibility of religion. Do we mean Muslim versus Kafir? This is one of it, because in Islam, a female Muslim woman cannot marry anyone who is not a Muslim. And this is the consensus of all scholars of Islam. And hence, if a Muslimah, a woman, decided to marry a Hindu or a Christian and says that this is okay, there's nothing wrong in that, such a marriage is void, is not happening. And she is asked, do you think that this is permissible and valid in Islam, or you acknowledge the fact you are fornicating and committing zina? If she says, no, this is totally permissible, and I do not believe anything you say that it is not permissible. I love him, he loves me, we're married, so what? The Quran, the Sunnah, she said, no, we're married. This is legal. If she does this, she becomes what? She becomes an apostate, a kafira, because she rejected the Quran and the Sunnah clearly. If she says, no, I know this is haram, but I love him, she's a fornicator, she's a zaniya, and her children are born out of wedlock, and she is committing a major sin, but she's still a Muslim. Now, when we come to the issue of compatibility, the scholars always give the issue of Islam versus kufr and the issue of practicing versus being disobedient defiantly, or what is known as fisq. أَفَمَنْ كَانَ مُؤْمِنًا كَمَنْ كَانَ فَاسِقًا لَا يَسْتَوُونَ. Those who are believers, can they be equal to those who are defiantly disobedient? They are unequal. So they give the best and most known example of a Muslimah marrying a fornicator, an open playboy. Is this permissible? They say no. This marriage cannot take place. They're not compatible by any means. And this is mentioned in Surah An-Nur clearly. الزانية لا ينكحها إلا زان أو مشرك. A woman who fornicates cannot marry a man except who's a fornicator like her, or a disbeliever, an idol worshipper. So this is the most authentic opinion, that what counts is religion. Ibn al-Qayyim, may Allah have mercy on his soul, he said that this is the rule of the Prophet ﷺ. This is how he ruled it, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in accordance to the Quran and the Sunnah. What does Allah say? Allah says, O mankind, indeed we have created you from male and female. And then Allah says, at the very end, indeed the most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you. So righteousness is what counts in compatibility. The Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, to those who say that a Muslim woman who's an Arab cannot marry an Arab. The Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, there is no superiority of an Arab over a non-Arab, or of a non-Arab over an Arab. There is no superiority of a white man over a black, or of a black man over a white, except in terms of taqwa, fear of Allah Azza wa Jal. The Prophet said, the people are from Adam, and Adam is from dust. So those who claim to be Sayyid from the lineage of the Prophet ﷺ, we love them, we respect them, we serve them because of the Prophet ﷺ. But what is their origin? Dust. And what is your origin? Dust. This is what I usually use with my beloved Bedouin friends. Sometimes shaitan come between us, Saudis. And they say, I'm from this tribe. And said, I'm from this tribe. Where do you come from? I say, I come from Indonesia, originally. And I care less about your tribe or where you come from. Show me your national ID card. It's the same thing. Mine is older because I'm older than you. So I have better digits. But tell me, I have in my ancestors Adam. So I go back to Adam, peace be upon him, a prophet of Allah. Who do you go back to? I said, to dust. They acknowledge, Muslims acknowledge, no matter what differences come between us, we all come from Adam. And Adam comes from dust. So what are you making an issue out of? The Prophet ﷺ highlighting the issue of compatibility when it comes to religion. He said, whenever someone comes to you proposing to your daughter, sister, and you accept his religious commitment and moral conduct, his ethics, then you must give him in marriage. Otherwise, this will cause a great fitna and corruption in the land. So the companions objected, may Allah be pleased with him. O Prophet of Allah, now you're giving us two conditions. What are they? Religious commitment and moral conduct. But what about if he is such and such? Meaning if he's ugly, if he's poor, if he's this, if he's that. The Prophet repeated it 3 times, alayhi salatu wasalam, which highlights the importance of religion. Not that it is compulsory for you to give your daughter or your sister to someone who is religiously committed and has good moral conduct, but there are other things that may prevent you from accepting. And there are other things that she may reject him for that. But these are the highlights of what constitutes reasons for accepting someone who's proposing to marriage. These are the highlights, the main things. And this is why in some hadiths you hear the Prophet say, alayhi salatu wasalam, ad-du'a'u huwa al-ibadah. Supplication, dua, is worship. Does this mean I don't have to pray? I don't have to give zakat? No, nobody understands this as it is. When the Prophet says, al-hajju arafah, does this mean that if I only stand in hajj, in Arafah, and I leave, I don't have to make niyyah, I don't have to make ihram, I don't have to make tawaf al-ifada or sa'i al-hajj, because the Prophet said hajj Arafah? No. When the Prophet says, al-nadamu tawbah, repentance is remorse. So if I take 10,000 riyals from you unlawfully and I repent, I keep the 10,000 khalas, I've repented because I feel remorse. or must I give it back? These evidences all indicate that the Prophet is highlighting something or an issue, not that it is exactly the whole thing, but rather it is the most important factor in it. And the most important decisive factor in choosing, in making or breaking a deal when it comes to marriage is your religious commitment and your akhlaq and your moral conduct and your ethics. And to highlight the issue of compatibility when it comes to being a craftsman or a laborer or someone who works with his hand, there was an authentic hadith that a man by the name of Abu Hind, and he was someone who does cupping, and he cupped the Prophet ﷺ once. And because cupping was a profession that people looked down upon, the Prophet said to a group of the Ansar known as Bani Bayada, he said, "O Bani Bayada, give Abu Hind in marriage and marry from him." And he repeated that, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Why did he highlight marrying from and marrying to this Abu Hind? Because he was a cupper. Because people looked down at his profession and may not give him in marriage. The Prophet wanted to make this for sure. And if you follow the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, you will find that displayed clearly. For example, his cousin Zainab bin Jahsh was a woman from Quraysh with high status and level, yet he gave her in marriage to a freed slave, and that was Zayd ibn Haritha, his so adopted son before adoption was void. He also gave the son of Zayd ibn Haritha, Usama, who was as black as night. His father was white, but Usama was pitch black, young. He gave him in marriage Fatima bint Qais, who was also one of the honorable women of Quraysh. Two of Quraysh men proposed to her in marriage, Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan and what's the other names? Let me remember now. Age has its toll. Anyhow, it will come inshallah. A man who used to beat women in a narration, and in another narration he used to travel a lot. She came to him, O Prophet of Allah, Muawiyah proposed to me, and this other man proposed to me as well. He said, Muawiyah, he is broke, he doesn't have money, he cannot afford to give you anything financially. And the other man, he always puts the stick on his shoulder. This can be understood in two ways. Either that he puts his stuff and travels a lot, or that he hits women. And the first opinion is more likely, because if he hits women, the Prophet would not condone this and would not accept this. So the Prophet directed her to Usama ibn Zayd. He said, he is better for you. Also, Abu Hudhayfa, the son of Utbah ibn Rabi'ah, one of the great mushrikeen who died in the battle of Badr, one of the mushrikeen who used to be fierce enemies with the Prophet ﷺ. His son, one of the great companions, his name is Abu Hudhayfa, had a slave known as Salim. And Salim is one of the four companions whom the Prophet ﷺ ordered us to learn the Quran from. Imagine, he ordered us to learn the Quran from Salim Mawli Abu Hudhayfa, from Ubay ibn Ka'ab, from Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, etc. So when Salim reached the age of manhood, he gave him in marriage his own niece, who is from the great tribe of Quraysh, and Salim was a freed slave who used to, before being freed, used to be sold and bought. So all of this tells us that what the ruling of the Prophet ﷺ in this regard directs us that only religious commitment is a criteria when it comes to compatibility. Not giving a Muslim woman to a non-Muslim man, not giving a chaste woman to someone who is defiantly disobedient or fornicating. And when the Quran prohibited a fornicator man from marrying a Muslimah who has chastity, Allah did not tell us that his job might be high or low, that his financial status may be rich or poor, that he is from a good family or a bad family. Allah only told us that a fornicating man may not marry a Muslimah unless she's a fornicator like him or she's an idol worshipper. Now, having gone through all of this, and we know now, you have to decide before getting into marriage whom to choose. And once you do, you bear the consequences of your choice. A lot of the fathers make the grave mistake in marrying their daughters to someone because his parents are good. So usually they say, my daughter, someone proposed to you. So did you cross-check? He said, yes, his father is a good businessman and he's well known in the community. He does a lot of da'wah. And his mother is, mashallah, she is very active in charity work and she is very, mashallah, practicing and so on. Okay, then what? Khalas. So, is your daughter marrying the father or the mother or the Holy Ghost? Who is she marrying? She's marrying the son. We want the son. How is this? Well, I don't know. But if his parents are good, definitely his son would be good, correct? Is it? This is the fact. We have Nuh, for example, peace be upon him, one of the greatest messengers of Allah, one of the strong-willed messengers. He remained 950 years giving da'wah to his people. What happened to his son? He died a kafir. So it doesn't mean that if the father or the mother are excellent scholars and da'iyas and righteous people, that their son would be like them. This is not the case. It is a gift from Allah. If it happens, this is a blessing from Allah, but it's not the same. Therefore, marriage happened and took place. Khas. What can we do? Now, after marriage, we hear a lot of complaints of the issue or on the issue of compatibility. And this issue causes the vast majority of divorces. And by the way, the divorce rate in the Muslim world is on the rise. In Saudi Arabia, it is very high. And this is not our topic, but it is part of the problem. Why do we have high divorce rates? There are many reasons. Maybe this would need another lecture, inshallah, when the weather is a little bit better in Riyadh. Had I known that it is this bad, maybe I would have had my second thoughts. No, I was just joking. The weather is fine, mashallah. This is another joke. I was joking again. Divorce has many reasons. Among the reasons that come to mind is incompatibility. But this by itself is not the only reason, because it can be solved in so many cases. The biggest problem is lack of communication. When you speak and the other party is deaf, doesn't hear, what does it matter what you say? He doesn't hear you. When he speaks, I don't him, there cannot be any middle ground because there is no communication. This is what Shaitan banks on. Shaitan's main objective in life is to separate between the spouses. The Prophet tells us alayhi salatu wasalam that Shaitan, Iblis, erects his throne on water and he dispatches his soldiers worldwide. And then they come to him and each gives a report. One says, I was with this man until he fornicated. He fell in zina. He said, you did not do a thing. Tomorrow he's going to repent. People by nature know that this filthy sin is heinous and it's against nature. They'll repent. Another one says, I was with that person until he stole money. He said, he did not do a thing. Tomorrow he's going to return it back and repent. The third one says, I was with the couple until I separated between them and they divorced one another. He said, you are the man. And he makes him sit next to him on the throne. Divorce is so beloved to Shaitan to the extent that sorcery, when mentioned in chapter 2 in Surah Al-Baqarah, I think in verse 102, Allah mentions that the people learned sorcery to separate between a man and his wife. This is black magic. So, after marriage took place, we get a lot of such complaints caused by lack of communication, whispers of Shaitan, the failure in seeing good things. When you hate someone, you're blinded by your hate. You only see the bad things. And this makes you impartial. It doesn't make you objective. When you're objective, you're a true Muslim. You judge fairly and through justice. The Prophet ﷺ says, لا يفرق مؤمن مؤمنة. A believer must not hate a female believer and his wife. If he hates something about her, he loves other things. And if this principle can be applied in our marriages, we would have the happiest marriages ever. There are so many things I hate about my wife. But if I compare these things to the good things in her, it would be a drop in an ocean. If I look in the mirror and see my own shortcomings and failures, her bad things would be a drop in the ocean. Just being able to bear with someone like me. So, if I manage to think it this way, to look at the full half of the cup rather than the empty half of the cup, though it's the same cup, it's full with half its level of water. If you're optimistic, you say it's half full. If you're pessimistic, you say it's half empty. So if you look at your wife and you say, mashallah, she's full empty. How is that? Yeah, Sheikh, she is wallah empty. She doesn't have anything. She is so empty that there is nothing. She's full empty. It cannot be. She's either empty or full. But actually, what's empty is you. When you fail to see all the good traits and character and things in your wife. And so goes with the wife. When the wife is nagging, complaining, and all the time unappreciative, she is booking herself a seat in hell. First class business, Allahu A'lam. But she is definitely headed this way. Because the Prophet ﷺ addressed them and he said, O women of the Muslims, give in charity because I have seen you the majority of hellfire. They complained, why? The Prophet said, because you disbelieve. They said, we disbelieve in Allah? He said, no. This disbelief is in opposition to gratitude. There is shukr and there is kufr. So kufr can be disbelief in Allah. But there's another meaning of it is when you are not grateful. This is called also kufr. So the Prophet explained that your kufr is not of disbelief, but rather of ingratitude. If your husband does well all year round and he makes a mistake once, you say, I have never ever seen anything good from you. And the men are laughing. The others who are suffering are crying internally, but they all admit. This is the hadith of the Prophet. No one can deny this. This is a fact. Now, women would say, Shaykh, men also have this. This is, or ukhti, this is what the Prophet said. And he said this to highlight that this is something installed in women by nature, except those who polish their nature with Quran and Sunnah. Those who are committed, remember, a righteous woman, those who are righteous and practicing, they change and transform themselves into being something that is so pure and elevated that cannot be from this world. So, the marriage is done, we're facing problems. Compatibility is a problem. So, what to do? And is it possible that we tolerate differences in compatibility when getting married or after getting married? This is something that you have to look into, because it differs from one group of people to the other, depending on their religious commitment, depending on their circumstances, because now we're married. Divorce is not an easy thing to do. So many people come and say, oh, we're not compatible, I divorce you. Why? He says, well, we don't like the same movies. Astaghfirullah. Why? What are you doing? He says, yes, compatibility is very important. The Sheikh gave a lecture. The people don't have the understanding of what marriage really is. They think it's an easy ride, it's a joke. People differ in terms of their religious practices, in their circumstances, whether they have children or not. The issue of compatibility is so huge and vast that if you read the Quran, you will find it there. Though it is not related to our religion entirely, it's in the Quran, but it is not related to our religion. It was related to the religion of those before us. You know Prophet Nuh? Yes, Prophet Lut. They're mentioned in the Quran that they had two wives who betrayed them and who died as kafir. You know Pharaoh's wife, what's her name? Asiyah. She also was married to the worst man ever to walk the earth, Pharaoh. Who can be worse than him? No evil human lived more evil than Pharaoh, to my knowledge. Abu Jahl, he was trying hard, but not to the level of Pharaoh. Pharaoh said, I am your Lord, so worship me. You cannot be more evil than this. Yet, if you look at their Muslim spouses, and I imagine Nuh and Lut, how could they live with kafir women? No, don't look at how they lived. Looked at the character of Nuh and Lut, who tolerated the injustice, the disbelief, the bad behavior. Were they good wives? Definitely not. Lut's wife, whenever new fresh blood came to the city, she used to go and talk to the bad people. Listen, there are guests coming, so you can do sodomy with them, you can do your evil acts with them. She invites them to this evil. Yet the high level and character and caliber of Nuh and Lut, they coped with such individuals. So you and I don't have a justification to claim that there is no compatibility between me and my spouse. Asiya is one of 4 women who were perfected, and they are the mistresses of Jannah. Khadija, Fatima, Maryam, and Asiya. Yet her husband was the most evil person. Was she a good wife, or was she a nagging wife and doing things that are unacceptable, like so many of us might do? So when we look at them, we compare apple to apple, we discover that the way we treat our wives and the way women treat their husbands, because of the so-claimed lack of compatibility, there is something wrong. As I said, this was in their religion. So what about our religion? Let us look at the Prophet ﷺ. Which one of his wives was compatible to him religiously? All? None. Who could reach the level of the Prophet ﷺ in religious commitment? No one, not even Khadija. They are good. To our standards, they are stars in the sky. But to the Prophet ﷺ, would he say, no, I want someone better? Definitely. He would look for someone closer to him. Imagine him with Aisha, his beloved virgin wife, whom he was ordered from 7 heavens to marry her. And he was astonished because she was his brother's daughter. But this is Allah's order. Abu Bakr's daughter, his brother. When he used to pray alayhi salatu night prayer, did she pray with him? No. She was asleep. Whenever he wanted to make sujood, he would pinch her, she would pull her legs because there was no room in the place. Only when witr, he used to wake her to make witr with him. So even in night prayer, it wasn't compatible. The authentic hadith, she said, we didn't have any lanterns in the home, no lights. So one night I woke up in the middle of the night and I started feeling where the Prophet was, and I found his feet erected and he's giving a dua while in sujood. So again, she did not pray night prayer. She said, O Prophet of Allah, if I notice Laylatul Qadr, what should I say? Innaka afuwan tuhibbul afwa. So the Prophet is telling her what to do. So means of compatibility can be adjusted by teaching, by encouraging, by improving and developing the level of your spouse, by trying to make the levels of Iman rise. And this is how the Prophet ﷺ used to do. He used to remind them of Allah. He used to give them hope in paradise and how high it is. And he used to frighten them, scare them from hell and how awful it is. This is what a man should do with his wife. Okay, what about the woman? I married a woman who is much lesser than me in religious commitment. I can bring her up with the grace of Allah, try and do like the Prophet did as well. But what about the woman? A woman is problematic because by default, the majority of men never accept an advice from a woman. Is this true? This is true. This is human nature. This human nature was not with the Prophet ﷺ. This shows you how perfect of a man he is. He is the perfect man. In Sulh al-Hudaybiyah, when the Prophet was prevented ﷺ from entering Mecca and had to write a treaty with the disbelievers, among the conditions that they go back, they do not perform Umrah. They are in Ihram. So they are known as muhsar. They're prevented. What to do with my ihram? I'm already in ihram. The ruling is that you shave your head and you slaughter a sacrifice where you were prevented. So the Prophet ﷺ ordered the people to do so. None of them complied. Not a single companion. Shave your head and slaughter your sacrifice. I cannot believe this. We came all the way from Medina, traveled for 3 days or 4 days, and now, no. A'udhu billah. The Prophet came into his tent, angered by the lack of response of his companions. Who advised him? Salama, may Allah be pleased with her. And Salama is one of the favorite wives of the Prophet ﷺ, due to her impartiality. She was neutral. The Prophet's wives divided into 2 types, at war constantly. Aisha, Hafsa, and those with her, Zainab bin Jahsh, and those with her. There were 2 factions fighting furiously, and the Prophet ﷺ was in the middle. He was taking all the blows that the least of them, if it happened to one of us, he would have divorced his wife 3 times and your wives 5 times. This is a bonus. A man, they say, once divorced 5 women. He had 4 wives. He went into his home, 2 of his wives were fighting, and their voices were so high. He said, "Why are you fighting?" She said this and she said that, and they started shouting. He said, "You're divorced and you're divorced." So the 3rd wife said, "Wallahi, you're crazy, man. You don't fear Allah. You divorced 2 women for such silly thing." He said, "And you are divorced as well." The 4th wife said, "Alhamdulillah, I did not say a thing." He said, "And you divorced as well." His neighbor from the window looked at him and said, "Wallahi, you're crazy and you should not have been married in the first place." He said, "And you're divorced if your husband allows it." And he heard the sound of the husband from inside the house saying, "I allow it, I allow it." So he divorced 5. Of course, this is not logical, but it shows you how some of the men is like an AK-47. You know the Kalashnikov? Talik, 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 talik. He gives talaq 1,000 times in a day. "What are you doing?" He said, "I wanted to divorce my wife." "Okay, what's would do?" He said, "No, I wanted to make it sure." This is playing with Allah's words. So, a wife, usually, men do not accept her advice. And if there is a lack of compatibility between her and her husband, she is living in hell. When a practicing woman is marrying or is married to someone who's less practicing, she is in hell. Or this is how Shaitan makes her feel. She is the weakest link, and she would find a lot of hardship in trying to elevate his iman. And usually they are like a horse who is in a race. A racing horse, usually they put something next to its eyes. Why? So it would not be distracted. It has a goal and it only sees what's in front of it. A lot of those who fail in communication has these blindfolds or partial blindfolds. Why? They don't see except what's in front of them, though the world is so huge and big around them. So women fail, and I get a lot of phone calls, and I get a lot of emails from sisters who write to me essays, long stories of he did this, and then I did this, and I went to him, and I said this, and he said, "What is this? This is a Bollywood movie. So long and so detailed. Akhti, what is the problem?" She said, "I want to divorce." Khalas, begin from the end. Why do you want to divorce? Because he does this, that's it. Then I will tell you yes or no. And the majority of questions that come to me are nothing. Are like this. My husband is getting on my nerves. For 5 years I've tried to make him wake for Fajr Salah. He doesn't wake up, and I'm filing for divorce. SubhanAllah. Who's accountable for prayer? You or him? Does he pray Dhuhr? He said, yes, he prays Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha in masjid. And he prays Fajr, but he prays at home on time. Subhanallah, and you want to divorce him? Look at how crooked their thinking is. So, it's like the racing horse, not seeing so many things around them, to the extent that some of the sisters cause their husband to repel the religion and reject it. Why? Because they insist on doing things. Some of the brothers write to me, say, hey, Sheikh, I'm having trouble. Why? My wife is very pious. So, mashallah. He said, no, really very pious. I said, what do you mean? He says she prays all night long from Isha till Fajr. And I can't get my rights. Every time I come, she's fasting. Subhanallah. And when you ask the sister, she says, yes, I love to fast because the Prophet says, whoever fasts a day for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, this would prevent his face from going into hell for 70 years. I said, mashallah, this is the only hadith you remember. Don't you know that the Prophet said it is not permissible for a woman to fast when her husband is present without his consent and approval? So before you make your pre-dawn meal, your suhoor, go to your husband and say, can I fast tomorrow? And he has all the right to say, what are you going to fast? Are you going to fast an expiation, a vow, making up Ramadan, or Monday and Thursday? And you answer him Monday and Thursday, he says, no, you cannot. This is his God-given right. This is what Allah gave him the right. And if you fast against his will, your fast is invalid and you're sinful. A lot of us fail to worship Allah Azza wa Jal as pleases him. We worship Allah as pleases us. The majority of Muslims worship Allah as it pleases them, not as it pleases Allah Azza wa Jal. How is that? I'll tell you, this gets us a little bit off topic. How much time do you have, Sheikh Salman Bhai? Till what time?
We have till 6:15.
Okay, 30 minutes is sufficient. Inshallah. This is off the topic, but it's very important. What is more beloved to Allah Azza wa Jal? Quran, dhikr, or dua? Dua. But Quran is Allah's word, and nothing is more beloved to Allah than what came out of him, which is Quran. So again, what is more beloved to Allah? Quran, dhikr, or dua? Again, dua? Quran. Huh? Dua from the Quran. See, this example is very important for us to know how to prioritize our religion. A merchant who has $1 million and he wants to make business. If he makes business that brings him 1% and he's happy, and leaves a business that brings him 50%, what would we call him? A fool. If we're polite. So you have to utilize. Quran is the best thing a person can do to get closer to Allah Azza wa Jal. Can you recite Quran in ruku' or sujood? It is prohibited. Then what is best in ruku' and sujood? Quran or dhikr? Dhikr. Okay. Now, between adhan and iqamah, the Prophet ﷺ told us that dua is never rejected. What is best between adhan and iqamah? Dua. Therefore, it is not what you desire, it is what Allah Azza wa Jal loves. Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn Qayyim call this worship according to what Allah loves, not according to what we love. Some of us may spend 3 hours praying night prayer, and if someone were to move you out of it, you will feel depressed and you will refuse. Even if it is required for you to be done? The scholars say no. Seeking knowledge is far greater than night prayer. Teaching people is far greater than fasting voluntary, because I'm benefiting others. So each ibadah in its due course is better than other ibadah which are not in due course. So this gives you a perspective. Why do I bring this to your attention? A woman's main objective in Islam is to worship Allah Azza wa Jal. And one of the best means of worshipping Allah Azza wa Jal is through pleasing her husband. Therefore, the Prophet said, even alayhi salam, fasting is good for you, beneficial, high reward when it comes to pleasing your husband. Or fasting, please your husband. Now, a lot of the sisters say, yes, but no excuses. This is Islam. Likewise, if someone says, Wallahi, I love to fast, or I love to pray night prayer, and my wife is sick and she has to be taken to hospital for emergency, I'm going to miss her so much. Allah. She's dying. Wallahi, I love her, but sami Allahu liman hamidah. You have to leave your prayer and go attend your wife. This is a priority, and this is more beloved to Allah Azza wa Jal. Once we succeed in knowing this, then we find that the issue of compatibility is resolvable after marriage. Among the reasons for incompatible spouses to be happy is to make a lot of dua. So there are things that I don't like in my wife. My wife dislikes a lot of things in me. What to do? Khalas, divorce. It's easy. Isn't it? Move on. No. Never consider the option of divorce unless it is the last resort. Seriously. So, people who complain, my wife is like this, is like that. Sisters who complain, my husband does this and that. I ask them, how many times do you make dua? She said, well, I make dua a lot. How many times? Maybe when they calculate, a couple of minutes a day. There are times for dua that Allah accepts. In your sujood. Do you dua in your sujood every fard salah, every sunnah salah, to guide your husband to Islam, to make him a practicing husband, to let him quit haram things? No. Do you make dua between adhan and iqamah? No. Do you make dua at the last third of the night? No. Do you make dua when rain falls? No. Do you make dua at the last hour of Friday? No. Do you make dua before concluding your prayer and giving salam? No. How do you want Allah Azza wa Jal to respond to you? You have a problem in your link with Allah Azza wa Jal. Everything we do, we have to make dua. And the dua is not like a lot of the Muslims do after they finish salah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. What did you say? Dua. Repeat it slowly. He makes 50 mistakes. Allah, he makes 50 mistakes. Because he is doing something automatically without any contemplation, without any concentration. Plus, it is an innovation. Making dua regularly by raising the hands after each and every salah is a clear innovation. You can ask me the questions and answers. I will explain more if you wish. The place for answering your dua is in sujood. Oh, Shaykh, we can't make dua in sujood. Subhanallah. Why? Our scholars say, I'm telling you, the Prophet said, the closest aman is to Allah while he's in his sujood, so make dua as much as you want. This is the Prophet's green light. And you say, Wallah, his scholar so-and-so, Tom, Dick and Harry. Subhanallah. This doesn't sound. Follow Quran and Sunnah. Be closer to Allah Azza wa Jal. So if you fail to make dua that Allah guides your spouse, then you have a problem. Also, among the things that would make compatibility or the lack of it accepted is what we call in Arabic at-taghaful. And I did not find a suitable English word for that, so I made a phrase, and this phrase is looking the other way. Taghaful is to pretend that you did not see. Some of the spouses is like the FBI. They interrogate you. What did you mean? And a lot of the wives are like this. She comes to you, say, in 2015, December 21st, when we were having cappuccino at the cafe, you said this word, what did you mean? And you feel that there's a spotlight and you're sweating and you don't know what to say. Is this a life? Is this a real marriage? When a husband all the time coming into the room and she's calling a friend, a relative. Oh, who are you calling? What are they saying? Give me your password for your mobile. Ah, sure. And I need your password for your bank account as well. I'm your husband. Allah, if you don't want her, I'll take her if she's going to give you the password. What kind of life is this? No, you have to look the other way. Especially at remarks that may anger you, that may upset you. And this happens. Sometimes she puts the food and I say, and she spent 3 hours in the kitchen. And I say, oh, this is not cooked properly. The salt is not adequate. You should have done this, you should have done that. Any normal woman would be stabbed in her heart. A good, wise woman would shrug her shoulders and move on. Because she did her best. She spent 3 hours of her life in the kitchen for an ungrateful husband, and she would not let that depress her or make her life miserable. It's a remark he said, this is his opinion. And move on. This was the Prophet's way ﷺ, of dealing with his wives. And Allah mentioned this in Surah At-Tahrim, when He entrusted His wives with a secret, and then they leaked that secret, and Allah told him about it. And He informed them with some and neglected others. See, the one that He neglected shows you the character and the caliber of the Prophet ﷺ. He could have said, yes, and you said this, and you said this, and you said this. He took only 1 point, and the rest he ignored. Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi, one of the great leaders of Islam, was with his leaders of the armies, yani a council of war. Very fierce, very respected, very fearful. And 2 of the slaves were fighting. One of them took his slipper and threw it at the other one, and the other dodged it. He missed, and it fell right next to Salah ad-Din among his army leaders. You know Salah ad-Din, what did he do? He turned the other way and continued to talk. What a character. Any one of us, what would have done? Slaughtered them, killed them, behead them, and their wives, and their children, and their offspring as well. Tyrants do this until today. Look at Syria. Tyrants do this as a default. This is in them. Noble men do not. So if your wife says something, you don't have to interrogate, what did you mean? You've insulted me, you've insulted my mother, you meant this, I know you meant this. SubhanAllah, now you know what's in the hearts. Yes, your intention was this and this and this. And then divorce takes place. It is important to deal with wisdom, with knowledge. So even there is lack of compatibility between the 2 of you, before you say or act, look at the consequences. If I want to drink this water, I'll open it, I'll drink, and I put it back. So I was just thirsty. There's nothing connected to this. You have to think of the consequences of whatever you want to do. So if you want to say a statement, what would the effect be on your spouse? Regardless of your intention, you have to think. And this is why in marriages where there is no compatibility, sometimes what you say may have dire consequences. Sisters criticize their husbands. You don't pray on time. You don't have a beard. You watch movies. You don't do this. Allah will curse you. Allah. And she keeps on repeating the same thing. Will the husband improve? No. He will be defiant. He says, okay, I watch movies. I'm going to watch it publicly in front of the children now. You don't like me smoking? I'm going to bring a shisha. A hookah, I think they call it, or whatever. You don't, he is defiant. Likewise, a man always criticizing his wife. You never do this, you never wear niqab, and she takes the whole hijab out. I'm not gonna even cover my hair. This is wrong. Always, if you want to improve, you have to think of the consequences. Sometimes I hate something in my children. If I say it to them, if I think of what will happen, I know that something worse is going to happen. But I still say it. Why? Because I don't have self-control. I have to refrain, hoping for the best. And this is why when you don't think of the consequences of your action, you fall into haram. The idols that the mushrikeen worship, it is kufr, it is shirk, it is something that has to be destroyed. Is it not? It is idols. Yet Allah says in the Quran, وَلَا تَسُبُّوا الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ فَيَسُبُّوا اللَّهَ عَدْوًا بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ. And do not insult, do not curse the idols they worship other than Allah. Why? So that the idol worshippers would not curse Allah the Almighty and insult Him. So the consequences, though my actions are valid, they're good, but the consequences are serious and worse. Allah tells you don't do it. The Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, had not your people, he's addressing Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, had not your people been so close to ignorance time, Jahiliyyah, I would have demolished the Kaaba and rebuilt it again on the foundations of Ibrahim, peace be upon him. And I would have made 2 doors for the Kaaba. One for the people to enter from, and one for them to exit from. Okay, Prophet of Allah, you are the best of Allah's creation. No one can reject what you say. Why didn't you do it? Fearing the consequences. That the people of Quraysh, they're Muslim, but they are 2-3 years Muslim. They're young still. If they see him demolishing the Kaaba, they would not think of his intention. They would say that he is insulting Allah's house, and they would go back to kufr. Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul, the head of the hypocrites, said so many heinous and kufr things. The Prophet ﷺ was requested by Khalid ibn Walid, by Umar ibn Khattab, let me chop his head off. What did he say? No, I don't want the people to say that Muhammad is killing his companions. So that people would not label Islam as a violent and bloody religion as they do now. This is their aim. So these terrorists, when they do what they do, thinking that they're helping Islam, they're completely following the footsteps of shaitan. They are tarnishing the reputation of Islam, beside they're not implying or complying with the Sharia law, with the religion of Islam. This is what prevented the Prophet ﷺ from killing the hypocrites who deserve to be killed. What prevented him? The fear of the consequences. And finally, if there is an issue of incompatibility, and the issue is not serious, what do I mean by serious? If a woman says, my husband is a mushrik, he He goes to dargahs, he slaughters sacrifice to the dead, he calls the peers and the awliya, he deals with sorcery and jinn. In this case, this is intolerable. We say you have to separate. If she says he does not pray, not a single prayer throughout the whole year, he refuses to make sajda, one sajda, and we tried, my family tried, he doesn't pray, he's a kafir. There is no compatibility issues here. You have to separate from him. But if she says no, he's a Muslim, yet his iman is very little, yet he has these sins between him and Allah Azza wa Jal, yet he does this or that, I say you have to be positive. You have to make a lot of dua. You have to change your strategy. Sometimes you have to remove the side blindfolds to see a bigger world. When you can only see what's in front of you, you are headed to a dead end. But when you remove it, you say, I can change my strategy. Children, and men are big children, right? Children, when you feed them, they refuse sometimes. Infants. So you say, okay, don't touch this. If you touch this, I'm going to put you in confinement. They will eat it and finish it. They are going to go against your instruction. Men are like a ring in your finger, my sister or my daughter. If you know how to tackle it, you can make him love you by showing him submissiveness, by showing him your weakness, and you can control him through your weakness. But when you are another man next to him, there are two men in the house, he will not accept this, and he will never comply with what you request from him. So try to be positive. Try not to put obstacles. Sheikh, my husband does this and this and this. Okay, try to do this. I did this and it did not work. Okay, try to do that. I did this, it did not work. Okay, try to go to the elders. They would not listen. Try, whatever you say, she puts, okay, what do you want? Put a gun into his head and shoot him. Okay, Sheikh, I'll try this. SubhanAllah. This is wrong. You must not put obstacles. Always be positive. I'm making dua. Allah is with me. So things will definitely come to an end, inshallah, in a positive way, and avoid as much as you can any thought of divorce, because this is exactly what shaitan wants you to fall into, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes all our marriages a successful one, and that He grants us the spouse that is a joy to the heart and a good mother or a good father to our children, and that we are joined together in this life as well as in the paradise. Allah knows best. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh, for the excellent reminder. May Allah make us amongst those who deal with our incompatibility with our spouses, and may Allah give compatible spouses to the brothers and sisters who are not yet married. We still have 15 minutes time before Maghrib. So, Shaykh, so we will start with the question and answer round. Again, Sheikh, apologize for one thing, because we'll be handling more questions from the sisters again, because the number of sisters are almost thrice the number of brothers over here. So how we're going to go about it is we're going to take one question from the brothers and then two questions from the sisters. Now you can raise your hands and we'll pass on the mic for the questions, or we have Brother Salman over here. If anybody wants to write down their question, they can write it down and hand it over to Brother Salman, and we will answer it accordingly. So, to start with, we will start with the brothers, and I'll come down. You can raise your hand and I'll hand over the mic to you.
One by one. Let's go from here.
Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah khair for your presentation.
Yes, sir.
Sheikh, my question is, I've seen personally a lot of brothers who are mashallah good practicing brothers, this is I know through my families, being friends and so on. So what is your advice in such cases? Because the brothers, mashallah, if you talk about him, refer to him to a brother, he said, mashallah, great brother, he prays, he does dawah, the durus and so on. But in the house, it's like the deen is only for the public and it's double standards in the house. So your advice for such families and brothers?
Did my wife call you? Fear Allah, ya Shaykh, fear Allah. Wallahi, this is a big problem. Seriously. Alhamdulillah, with the grace of Allah, I've never hit my wife in my life. And I've been married for 33 years. With the grace of Allah, she always hit me, but alhamdulillah. No, this is a joke, seriously. No, alhamdulillah, this is not found. The biggest problem that the brother is pointing out to is a fact. And it is not only with how we deal with our wives, it is how we lead our lives. We have a problem of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. We have conviction and belief in some aspect of Islamic law, but we fail to do it in all of it. And this is why Allah says, أَفَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِبَعْضِ الْكِتَابِ وَتَكْفُرُونَ بِبَعْضِ. Do you believe in some of the Quran and disbelieve in some of it? This is unacceptable of the book, the scriptures. This is for the Jews and the Christians. Do you believe in some of the scriptures and disbelieve in some of it? This is inapplicable. The problem with the Muslims is they are selective. So I grow a long beard. Why? Because when I come to the Jawazat or to a row in the bank and they see the beards, Sheikh, please come take my place. But when it comes to night prayer, I never pray night prayer or wake up in the middle of the night. Why? Nobody's watching. So it's nobody's watching. In Saudi, I'm a practicing Muslim, I'm a Sheikh, Imam, Maulana, so and so. If I travel abroad, nobody's watching. So let's go to the movies, let's go to do this. We have a lack of commitment. We have a lack in knowing that Allah is watching over us. And this is why a righteous woman, a righteous man, righteousness is not recognized in public. In public, we're all the same. We all fear Allah Azza wa Jal. We all go to the masjid and pray together so that no people would speak against us. It is when you lock your room and nobody watches you, this is where you find these discrepancies. The Prophet ﷺ was inside and outside the same. The Prophet said ﷺ, a lot of women came and complained to my wives about how they abuse them and mistreat them. By Allah, those who abuse their wives are not among the best of you. So the Prophet ﷺ prohibited this and told us that beating women is not part of the good character of Muslims. Anas, Aisha, other companions, may Allah be pleased with them, said that the Prophet had never ever beaten a woman in his life. So if you're a Muslim, you should be a Muslim inside out. And this is what I always say to the brothers and sisters. You want to know Islam truly? You want to know if a person is a scholar or not? Check him inside out. How? Send someone to go to his house and check his family. If he is not good, don't be distracted by the fan. I have lots of fans, but this one is especially for me. It's sufficient. It doesn't have to make me fly. Exactly. And I tell them, go to the Sheikh's house and look inside out. If he is practicing inside as he is outside, then he's good. The evidence behind this, when Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, may Allah be pleased with him, and the hadith is in the Sahih. He said, the Prophet said, ﷺ, may Allah curse those who make tattoos and have tattoos made to them. May Allah curse those who connect their hair and make their hair connected. May Allah curse so and so and so, the women who pulp their eyebrows and have it being plucked for them. A woman said, I read the Quran from cover to cover and I did not see this instruction or curse in it. He said, Allah says in the Quran, whatever the Prophet ﷺ brings to you, you must abide by. The woman did not like the answer. She said, maybe your women do this, plucking the eyebrows, having tattoos, having hair connections. He said, this is my house, go in. She went in, stayed there for a few minutes and came back. So he said, what did you see? She said, by Allah, I saw everything that is good according to the Sunnah. He said, by Allah, if you saw something else, they would not have been my family. Meaning that I would have divorced them or I would not be related to them, because a true scholar is a scholar inside and out. So these people involved in da'wah, we cannot say that they are hypocrites, can we? Those people who are involved in da'wah but have these shortcomings, we would say that they're sinful, that they have shortcomings, but they have to work and improve. Unlike the vast majority of Muslims who are not practicing, and when they see a sheikh like myself walking in the streets and a beautiful blonde passes and I do this, they say, oh, look at this hypocrite. All religious people are thieves and crooks and corrupt, and subhanallah, I made a sin. I'm wrong. Allah Azza wa Jal would hold me accountable to it. Now you have tarnished the reputation of all Muslims and practices people for nothing. So we have to have the balance. We say their da'wah work is excellent. Their good character with the Muslims are perfect. Their good deeds for the community are praiseworthy. But being who they are with their wives is not acceptable. They have to change and improve. So I hope this answers your question.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. We will have one question from the sisters and then we will break for Maghrib. So, can I have a question from the sisters?
A sister says, I want to know to what extent does a husband have the right to keep away his wife from her parents?
A lot of the sisters ask such a question, which makes it not natural in a Muslim community. First of all, we have a case, we have to analyze it, and we have to look for the cure of it. The case is that the man is preventing his wife from going to her parents' house. Let's analyze. The man has power over his wife. This power is given to him by Islam Sharia, where the Prophet ﷺ ordered women to obey their husbands, not to admit to their house, to his house, people whom he doesn't want, and not to leave without his permission. So this is his God-given right. They have to obey. And if he prevents her from going into her parents' house, he is entitled to do this depending on his judgment. Now, if she was to perform Hajj, her Faridah Hajj, and she says, this Hajj, I'm going with my brother for Hajj. And he says, no, you don't. Is he allowed to prevent her? No. Can he prevent her? No. This is fard. So she goes against his will to Hajj, which is Faridah, once in a lifetime, whether he likes it or not. This is not up to him. Okay, Sheikh, connecting with my parents is also a Faridah. I love them. They raised me. They have rights, and they have rights over me that I have to fulfill. I said, yes, you have to connect them. You have to stay in touch with them. But you must not go to them if he tells you not to go to them. And they must not come to your home if he tells you not to come to your home. And he's questioned on the Day of Judgment and he will be punished by Allah if he does not have any justification. Because you cannot fly an airplane with two captains. Always the man who sits on the left seat is the captain, and the one on the right seat is the co-pilot. If you have two captains, one say descend and one say no, go up, you have a catastrophe. Likewise in the house, it is his judgment. And in so many cases, I found that the husband has rights. Because he says, every time my wife goes to her parents' house, she comes back with a different personality. Why don't you do this for me? Why don't you register the house in my name? Why don't you change the furniture? We had it only for 6 months. Why don't I go every so-and-so to my hometown like everyone else? Why? He said, Sheikh, I cannot afford this. I can barely make ends meet. So in this case, he's right in preventing her. There are cases that the husband is an animal, with all due respect. I'm not referring to any one of you. Why do I say such a thing? Because he has psychological issues. He's mentally sick. Sister's calling me saying that her husband every day talks to her 6 or 7 times. Why didn't your brother invite me to his son's wedding? Subhanallah. So why are you talking to me? You're a man, talk to him. He's a man like you. Unless you're so. Have a problem. And no, your parents are disrespectful to my parents. Your parents did this, your mother said this, the way your father looks at me. And he has mental issues. So this is wrong from the side of the man, but unfortunately this is part of the incompatibility. You're married to a sick person. You have to make the best of it and try to look at the good things in him. Try to be kind, try to please him in other ways so that you can extract approvals from his side, at least to go once a week to your parents' house. Maybe this would be a compromise. Allah Azza wa Jal knows best.
Being in married with a sinful woman. If not, and the other part of it is, how should he actually go about correcting her? And if for that reason or for any other reason, any compatibility issue, he wants to get another wife, is it allowed for him?
This is the core of the question. So I hope you began with it. Is it possible to get a second wife? Let us talk about this issue later on. The issue of incompatibility in regards to sins. There are sins that are between a person and Allah. As long as they are between a person and Allah Azza wa Jal, you're not accountable for it. If she listens to music, if she does not do things the way they're supposed to be done, but it's between her and Allah Azza wa Jal. All what you can do is order, advise, try your level best to elevate her status of Iman. But if it is something in your control that you can prevent, then you must take measures, because Allah addressed you as a husband by saying, قُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَهْلِيكُمْ نَارًا. Prevent yourself and your families, your spouses, your children, a hellfire. So it is mandatory for you, if you have the means to stop it, that you stop it. How? If she listens to music through the internet, cut the internet. It's not my responsibility, my obligation to bring you the internet in the home. If you're misusing it, you're watching movies, you're listening to music through it, I will not help you in this evil, and I will cut it. I will put a password that you do not know how to access it. But again, this does not cascade to every single thing. You are not a policeman in the sense that you have to monitor every single thing that she does. No, there are sins that cannot be tolerated. She insists on going out without wearing the hijab. Then there's no going out. Because the evil of not wearing the hijab does not only hurt you or harm you, it hurts others. It hurts the community. It is defiantly disobeying Allah Azza wa Jalla, and this must stop, and it is in your reach to stop it, then you must stop it. As for incompatibility issues that would lead to marrying a second wife, or a third wife, or a fourth wife, depending on how many you have, and I believe that the majority of you are muwahidun. I believe that. So this is an issue dependent not on your whims and desires. This is an issue governed by a number of conditions. First of all, is it recommended? The answer is yes. Providing that the conditions are there. What are the conditions? That you can be fair to both in terms of spending the night, in terms of financial expenditure, and in being just. Otherwise, don't. Secondly, which is much more crucial in second marriages, that you are patient and tolerant. If you're impulsive, if you're hot-tempered, you cannot marry a second wife. Because definitely you will be like our friend who divorced 5 in the same day. Women will tend to complain and nag. And if you're unable to control your emotions and to appreciate their feelings, after marrying a woman for so long, you take another wife and you expect her to, whenever you come, to clap for you and belly dance. This is not possible. She has to do things that would annoy you. And this might last for 6 months, maximum a year. But then, if you're tolerant and kind and expressing your true and genuine love to her, she will discover after a year that you're okay, inshallah. But who will last for a year in such circumstances? Very few men. Therefore, it's an endeavor, it's an experience that you must think it over so many times and consider the consequences before attempting it. Because some, if not a lot of the men, don't have need to get married again. Why are you interested in marrying again? Ya Shaykh, I feel like a man when I tell people I have 2 wives. This has nothing to do with men. Gorillas have more than one mate. That doesn't make them men. But if you have a genuine reason, someone who is in need of marriage and you are in need of marriage and you can be fair, you have money. A lot of the questions that I get are from sisters who's been financing the family. The husband does not work or works and earns a little, and she works and she spends on herself and her children, and he wants to take a second wife. This is not permissible. You're unable to provide for your first family, now you want to take a second one? This is haram. This is against logic, against religion. Therefore, one should think it over, and Allah knows best.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Can we have the questions from the sister side, please?
Is it preferred in Islam for a woman whose husband has died not to marry again?
No, it is not. Because a widow falls under the same hadith we mentioned earlier. If someone who you are pleased with his religious commitment and moral ethics come in proposing in marriage, then give him. So a widow falls under the same category. And if you look at the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, females, you will find astonishing cases. And take for example, al-Mu'mineen, Salama. Salama was married to Abu Salama, who was the brother of the Prophet ﷺ by suckling. So there was Abu Salama, there was Hamza, and the Prophet, they're all brothers through suckling, through breastfeeding. When he died, the Prophet proposed to her, ﷺ. So she said, I am an old woman, and I have children, and I am jealous. So the Prophet said, ﷺ, I am older than you, and your children are in my custody, I'll provide for them, and your jealousy, I'll pray to Allah that He will take it away. This is why, as stated earlier in the lecture, when the wives of the Prophet ﷺ were two parties, whenever they disputed, Salama would be their envoy to the Prophet ﷺ to relate to that problem. Why? Because she was impartial. She did not have jealousy. So the Prophet knew that she would not favor one over the other because her love to him was out of jealousy, whom Allah Azza wa Jalla had taken away from her. Also take an example of Asma bint Umays. This woman is, subhanallah, she was married to Ja'far ibn Abi Talib and had 3 children of him. And then Ja'far was martyred in the battle of Mu'tah. So after his martyrdom, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq married her. And after Abu Bakr died, Ali ibn Abi Talib married her. What is this, Miss Universe? All of these great men marrying her? Why? Because she was a woman of caliber, of deen, of religion. Not because of she was beautiful. So Ja'far and Ali are brothers. He was the first and that was the third. Abu Bakr was the second. And she had a son named Muhammad ibn Ja'far, and she had a son named Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr. So she had 2 sons of the name Muhammad. One, the father is Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, the one with the 2 wings, you know, Ja'far al-Tayyab. And Abu Bakr is known. So the 2 boys fought one day. Each one saying, my father is better than your father. Ja'far ibn Abi Talib is the cousin of the Prophet ﷺ, and he was a martyr and so on so. And the Prophet said, you are among the few who look like me and your moral conduct is like me. Everything of you is like me. So this is something of high caliber. Abu Bakr is Abu Bakr. So they disputed. Ali was there, her husband. He said, Asma, give the verdict and judge them. Each one says, my father is better. So she said to Muhammad ibn Ja'far, your father is the best of the youth. He was Shabab. And she looked at Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, your father is the best of the elders, of the old men. Ali looked at her and said, Asma, you did not leave anything for me. If Ja'far is the best of the youth and he's the best of the elders, I'm gone. She said, by Allah, 3, you are their third, is not a bad thing because they're good. And you're the third one among these mountains of knowledge and of religious practice. He said, by Allah, you said the truth. Had you said anything else, I would have detested you and I would have hated you. Because this meant that you have to discredit either Abu Bakr or Ja'far, and both cannot be discredited. So, marrying someone after her husband has died is something recommended in Islam. Remember that the Prophet ﷺ's wives were all either divorcee or widows, with the exception of Mother Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her. So, no, you are not advised to stay as you are. If you get a good proposal, you should accept that and move on with your life, and Allah knows best.
Jazakallah khair. Can I have the other question from the sister, please?
If a husband utters words of kufr in anger, does it affect their marriage contract?
This is something that has to be looked into by a qadi or by a mufti. We know that whatever comes from a person's mouth in a state of paranoia or intoxication or extreme rage that is really extreme, this does not count. The Prophet said, alayhi salam, "La talaqa fi ighlaq." There is no divorce valid when a person is blocked and blinded by either intoxication or anger. And a lot of the brothers come to me, Sheikh, and say, I was angry with my wife and I divorced her. Akhi, nobody is happy with his wife drinking cappuccino and say, I love you for the sake of Allah, you're divorced. Nobody does this. All divorces take place when you're angry. So it's valid. The anger that does not make your divorce valid is the one that blinds you. Your 50-inch LCD that you paid an arm and a leg for, you break it and you divorce. And then when you wake up, say, who broke my TV? You. Allah, I don't remember. This is real anger. The anger that you hit people, that you break things, that is not something you can control. But in normal cases, if a person just curses Allah, or curses the Quran, or insults it, and he's not acting in rage, this is pure kufr. In this case, he becomes a kafir. But I do not believe that any Muslim would ever attempt something like this at all. And I hope this answers your question.
Jazakallah khair. Can I have a question from the brothers? I think it's just...
Jazakallah khairan for your awesome lecture. You are one of the sheikhs who shakes us and elevates our iman, mashallah. My question is that it's an era of social media, and you being our awesome Twitter sheikh, what is your advice for spreading Islam on social media?
This is too generic. We as Muslims are supposed to spread Islam, full stop. Whether it's by social media, whether by my character and conduct. When I meet a kafir, he must acknowledge that the way I treat him is not humiliating to Islam and Muslims, is not submissive, but at the same time, it is not arrogant. So he should learn from me how to become, or what is true Islam. In a traffic light, the way I drive, some of the Saudi drivers, I used to be one of them, sometimes I am still one of them. When we drive, we wear a helmet because we want to bash into anybody who comes in front of us. This is how hot-tempered we are. Islam tells me, this is not the way you should. So you have to be more tolerant. Someone cuts in front of you. You have to be more tolerant. So your da'wah is not isolated only to coming on a TV screen or to Facebook or on Twitter. It is so general and wide that it is also part of giving a bottle of cold water to the one who sweeps the streets in the hot summer, or feeding people in an orphanage, or going and digging a well in Africa, or spreading an email or a WhatsApp message. Your da'wah is 24/7. Your objective to spread the word of Allah Azza wa Jal and to share it, not to look for results. Don't be result oriented. If there's no result, there's no good. No. You seed, you throw the seeds, you water it, and it's Allah's ability and hands whether it grows or not. You've done your job. So I hope this inshallah answers your question and broadens your da'wah, not to be limited only in social media. Of course, social media is very effective nowadays, especially among the youth and even among the old geezers. You will be surprised, people when they retire, some of them even retire from Islam. After 60, they spend their time unwisely, and unfortunately maybe in pornography, in bad sites, in Facebook, in spreading gossips. Ya akhi, the people, when they come to the end of their life, they strive to do good deeds so that when the angel of death comes, they're on good deeds. What are you doing? All these 60, 70 years, come on, down the drain. Now you are going down the drain yourself. No, this should not be the case. You have to utilize it, but if the effect is negative on you, avoid it. Some says, Ya Sheikh, I do da'wah on Facebook, but I find so many beautiful pictures and profiles, so I go check. Just for da'wah. Ya Sheikh, da'wah? On me? So he's doing this and shaitan is entrapping him in it, and until he falls into sin because of it. No, block it. Don't do da'wah, but don't fall into fitna as well. And Allah knows best.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Humble request to the brothers and sisters. Sheikh is available on his website and is reachable via an application also. You can ask your questions to him anytime. For the program, I would humbly request everyone to try and stick to the topic, that is on the issue of spiritual incompatibility.
Welcome to the club. Incompatibility.
Incompatibility. So, can I have the question from sisters, please?
If there is a sin is there a sin upon the wife if she is ordered or advised by the husband to cut off her relationship with her parents or sisters on account of problems created by the in-laws?
As stated before, the Prophet ﷺ said there is no obedience to a creature in disobeying Allah Azza wa Jal. So if he tells you to drink alcohol, we say it's haram, you must not obey him. If he tells you come and serve food to my friends and non-mahram relatives of mine, or take the hijab off, or don't pray, or this or that, there is no obedience to him, none whatsoever. Likewise, if he tells you to cut relations with your parents or with your relatives, you are not permitted to obey him. His control is not to let you out and not to let them in, but to call them, to communicate with them, to attend weddings when possible, and he allows it. And you see them in a mall, and you don't talk to them. This is not logical, not Islamic, not realistic. So I hope this makes it clear, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair. Can I have the other question, please?
My husband has a very good knowledge of deen and good iman, but he's more worried about dunya than akhirah. How should I make him realize that he should fear Allah more?
As long as he has knowledge and he's a good person and he is not sinning and he's not reluctant in doing what is obligatory, let him be careful about dunya, let him become rich, let him become a millionaire. What do you care? If you were to live in a one-room bedroom, a flat with all your children and no food except dates and water, and he doesn't take you out nor pay for your medical expenses and tells you only make ruqya because he doesn't have insurance, he doesn't have money, he doesn't have anything, what would you say? Would you write me another question saying, my husband doesn't provide for me and he only cares for qiyamul layl and fasting, what should he do? What is your advice? So you have to have the balance, because the way I see it, you're criticizing your husband over things that do not require criticism but rather requires a tap on the shoulder or a slight advice. As long as he's earning halal and he's working hard to make a living for you and for your children, and to ensure that you will inshallah not suffer like he or others had suffered when he dies with a stroke or an accident, and you find that he left something to sustain an honorable and good way of living for you and for your children, only then you will say, may Allah have mercy on his soul. But when you discover that he left you nothing, and he was spending all of his time fasting and praying, you would probably say something else. No, we have to have the balance. The happiest man on earth is the man who has balance, who worships Allah Azza wa Jal. The Prophet said, alayhi salam, your Lord has rights over you, your wife has rights over you, your body has rights over you, your guests have rights over you, give each its due right. So if you manage to balance between your social life, your religious life, your health, and your earnings and everything else, you are the happiest man. Bi'idhnillah Azza wa Jalla, Allah knows best.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. I have 3 questions, and all 3 are directed towards the youth. The brother questions that what is your suggestion regarding young brothers who go abroad to study and have relationships with girls either online or other way, and sure that a girl is not virgin, is it allowed for them to get married to them?
This is a contradiction. I mean, you want to go for a test drive and then you insist on having a virgin. This is not logical. Yani, such youth or such brothers who say that they want to know if she is compatible by dating her or by involving in relationships through social media, etc. This is totally haram. Would you accept it for your sister? I'm interested in your sister. Would you accept it that I talk to her and just go, chit chat and socialize? And no, this is not permissible. It's haram. No, mashallah, haram for me. It's not haram for you. I'm a sheikh. So why is it haram for me? I can make things the other way around. Akhi, you have to fear Allah Azza wa Jalla. Those people who go online to claim that they want to know people or want to know a future spouse, they are just playing around. This is called dating, and it always ends in fornication and haram, and Allah will hold you accountable and would take all the blessing in your life because of such evil acts. As for marrying a virgin, this is recommended, but how will you go about it? You go and propose to someone and say, are you a virgin? This is not logical. The definition of virgin in Islam is someone who did not marry before. Sheikh, I'm not talking about marriage, I'm talking about premarital relationships. Oh, you're talking about zina. So you want to go to someone from an honorable family who was not married before, you say, I'd like to propose to your daughter, uncle. Did she have a boyfriend before? What kind of question is this? And usually people who ask such a question are those who were involved in premarital relationships before, and each one sees others with his own sight and his own self. No, this is not permissible. A woman who is protected, who's chaste, who's known not to have anything wrong in her past, she is concealed by Allah Azza wa Jal. Either accept her as she is or not. Oh, Sheikh, she on the wedding night we did not see so and so. Not all women have so and so. There are sports that they play that cause that not to happen. It could happen after a week or two from getting married and consummating. There are medical reasons. Nowadays, the training, the sports, the playing, the bicycle ride, all these may affect. So there's nothing for you to have your evil whispers coming to you. Oh, my wife is this, my wife had relationships. All of this is from shaitan, and it is inappropriate for a believer to deal with his wife in such a fashion.
Jazakallah khair. Can I have the question from the sisters again, please?
If a husband has accepted in front of his wife that he is fornicated outside marriage, what should she do? She has kids also.
What are her options? Always ask about what is beneficial. What are your options? First one, you go to the court and accuse him of adultery. They will flog you 100 lashes. Because as described in Surah An-Nur, you must bring 4 witnesses, male witnesses, to testify. She said, no, I will go for li'an. No, li'an is not for you, li'an is for him. If he accuses you of fornication or committing adultery and he fails to bring 4 witnesses, the judge orders him to swear 4 times by Allah Azza wa Jal that he saw you committing the act of adultery, and the 5th, that may Allah's curse be upon him. And you may defend yourself by swearing 4 times by Allah that he's lying, and the 5th, that the wrath and anger of Allah may be upon you if he was telling the truth. And the judge will separate between you. But if it's the other way around, if the woman comes and says, my husband committed adultery, then she will be flogged instantly. Unless he confesses. And no one would confess in front of the judge of committing adultery because they will behead him. They will stone him to death. So if your husband confessed, you think of the consequences. If he's remorseful, if he's apologetic, if he said, I did it once and I was wrong, I cheated on you. In this case, you have children. The best thing to do is to bite on your pride and live hoping for the best. This is my advice. If he's still adamant and defiant, he said, no, I committed and I will continue to commit it until I die. In this case, you have the right to refrain from giving him his rights in bed. You don't want any disease or illness to be transmitted to you. STD, I think they call it. And you may also file for separation if you have the means to sustain a normal life financially. My parents are rich and I can live a decent life in my parents' house and they can support me and my children. Halas, leave him. Because this person is an adulterer who is defiantly disobedient. He's not concealing it, he's not doing it in secret, he's not remorseful. No, he's proud of it. You leave him. Because incompatibility is obvious here. No one can deny it. The problem is to prove it in front of a judge. So don't ever say anything that would incriminate you and put you at fault. Leave this man. If you're unable, if she says, my parents are dead, I have no relatives. If I divorce him, I will be on the streets, literally on the streets. In this case, we tell you that be patient. I cannot give you any other alternative. The community will definitely not help you and open a house for you to live in for the rest of your life. So be patient and make a lot of dua.
Jazakallah khair. Can I have one more question from the sister side, please?
What is the best dua we can ask for our husband?
Can you please repeat that?
I understood. I'm thinking of a good dua. May Allah Azza wa Jal resurrect you on the day of judgment in the state of ihram. What does that mean? The Prophet said alayhi salatu salam, that whoever dies during Hajj, he will be resurrected on the day of judgment saying labbaik Allahumma labbaik. So if you want to make dua for your husband, make a dua so that he dies in Hajj and you will be relieved from him. No, I was just joking. I know that the sisters are writing the dua now. Ya Allah, ya Allah. They have all the right to do so. No, there isn't a specific dua that you can ask Allah Azza wa Jal. There are generic du'as. رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ. So you ask, oh Allah, grant us from our spouses. This fits men and women. You don't say, in some translations it says, oh Allah, grant us from our husbands, from our wives. But this can only be said by husbands. But what about the wives? So you say, grant us from our spouses and children. A satisfaction to the eye and to the heart. You can ask direct, straight question, dua to Allah. So, oh Allah, make my husband, praise Fajr on time. Make my husband obedient to his mother. Make my husband financially strong. Make my husband physically strong. Something specific you want, and you make dua. So it differs from one husband to the other, and Allah knows best.
Jazakallah khair. This is the final question that we're handling for the day. We will wrap up inshallah after this.
By the way, between Saturday, between Maghrib and Isha Makkah time, it's time for my Huda, Ask Huda program. So usually this time, every week, I'm in the studio answering questions. I have no problem in extending the program until you say we have to close and leave.
That is.
And I gave my testimony.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. The final question is, what are the rights of a man's earnings over a woman and a woman's earning over a man? And if you could cover Also, a part of this is household chores, cooking, cleaning. Is this the wife's responsibility? Can the husband reprimand the wife if she's not doing it properly?
Okay, the question is a little bit, even my program Ascota would not be able to cover it. And if you can cover zakat and loans and also night prayer and also hajj rituals, how to do it, this is a little bit too generic. But if I understand the question correctly, a man's earning is a man's earning. The wife has no right in saying, I need pocket money. You have to give me 1,000 riyals a month. You have to provide for me this and this and this. No. His obligation is to provide a house, to put food on the table, to clothe her adequately so that she would be living a normal life. And the rest is his. Whether I give it to my family, to my mother, to my siblings, it's not your business. But he's spending so much on his brother, and his brother is not working, and his nephew, he goes to university and he sponsors. This is not your business. Is food on your table? Yes. But I would like to go to the Côte d'Azur in France for summer. This is not your right. He's doing what he's supposed to do. Okay, what are the rights of the husband over his wife's earnings? Nothing. But this has to be a little bit, meaning, if when I proposed to my wife, she made a condition that I work. So the condition is in the marriage contract. In this case, I have no right for one single penny of her salary at all, because this is what I agreed upon. So even if she's a millionaire, I am obliged to buy her adequate clothing, food on the table, medical treatment, transportation, everything. But if I married her without any preconditions, and after we got married, she graduated and she said, I would like to work in a segregated place for women as a doctor. I have the choice whether to accept or to reject, or to accept with conditions. I said, okay, now I'm approving that you work, and this is my right that you stay 24/7 in my home to serve me, my children, and to take care of my family. But because I am giving you permission to go for 8 hours, I demand that you pay for the maid. I demand that you pay me 25% of your salary in order to compensate for the laundry that I have to take to the laundry shop to get my clothes washed, etc., and ironed, because you don't have time to do this. The scholars say this is acceptable because it is sulh. It is something to be agreed mutually between two parties. She said, no, 25% is too much. Okay, don't work. Simple. You are obliged not to work. You're obliged to stay in my home. But if I were to give you concession and to approve that you're working, providing you share some of the expenses of the house, would it be wrong? No, it's not wrong. It's your right. But don't make a business out of it. And fear Allah, don't give me 75% bonus of this year I will take. Next year you will take. This is not the doing of a man. You are entitled to compensate according to what is acceptable in Allah.
The second part of the question regarding the household chores.
Okay, regarding zakat and loans, I'm getting too old, I forget. Zakat is obliged upon the owner. A lot of the sisters say, I have some gold and my husband refuses to pay zakat for it. It's not his responsibility. Sheikh, if I sell some of the gold, it will diminish little by little. Still, it is not the man's responsibility. It's your gold. You have to pay the zakat. How much gold do you have? Sheikh, I have only $300. Is your husband going to divorce you soon? $300? You should pay the zakat for that. It's not his responsibility. So this is usually what sisters ask about, who is responsible for zakat. The zakat is upon the person who owns the money. As for the house chores, it's good that you cook someday. It's good that you iron someday and wash. It's good that you become pregnant every now and then as a man. This is the woman's work. And my work is to earn money and to work outside and put food on the table and give expenses for the children's schools, etc. If the husband would share some of the chores, that would be great. But is he obliged to do this? No. What would the Prophet do, alayhi salatu wasalam? The Prophet, when he is home, he used to milk his goat. He used to stitch his thobe. He used to fix his sandals. He would do all of these things. But this was with whom? This was with all of his wives except Khadija. This is why Khadija is one of the perfect women in paradise. When Khadija was home, the Prophet would not even lift a simple thing, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is why once the Prophet said, "Oh Khadija, look, Jibreel is greeting you with the salam." And he says, give Khadija the glad tidings of a house made of pearl, a big pearl in paradise, with no loud noise and no hard work. Why? Scholars say, because when the Prophet was in her home in dunya, she would not nag, she would not raise her voice, nor allow the children to raise their voices. Meaning the house is filled with tranquility and calmness. So I come from outside, I find my safe haven in my home. No children jumping and hanging on the chandeliers and doing strange and hideous things. And she would not make him work. بشر خديجة ببيت من قصب لا نصب فيه ولا صخب. So she would not allow the Prophet to get tired and work. She would do all the things and he would just rest, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So I hope this answers your question.